Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the first meeting of the Laurel Boys and Girls Club Task Force. I'm glad everybody can make it. I think we have a couple of members that aren't here yet, but they can join us in progress. I think everybody's been getting my email. I've been driving y'all nuts with the emails, so I apologize for that. Just find it's the easiest way. Mr. Brown has been nice enough to send a lot of the stuff in soft copy, and we'll make that part of the record. You also have it in your books. Kind of the thoughts with the books are your books. You can do whatever you want with them. If you want to leave them, you can leave them. If you want to take them with you, you can do that. And we'll each meeting, as we get new exhibits, new documentation, the city will run off the copies, and you can shove them in a spot to keep yourself organized. Hey, Mike, how you doing? So with that, I'd like to, again, formally welcome everybody that's watching on cable TV, and thank you all again for serving on this committee. It's an important agenda item, and I think I want to applaud the leadership of both the Boys and Girls Club Board of Directors and the Mayor and City Council for causing this to occur. I think we all have the same goal in mind. I think everybody's had a chance to see the resolution, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get to that, I'd like to just go around, have everybody introduce themselves, say a little bit about yourself, whatever you'd like to share, just, do that, just to get the introductions out of the way. I'll just start real quick. Rick Wilson, I was a one-term wonder city councilman back in the dark ages in 2002. Served with Mr. Sarich proudly in those days. I did one term on the council. Prior to that, I had spent a lot of time working on various city things. I was a parent involved in the club when my kids were both little. They were involved in many activities at the club, so the club is near and dear to my heart, and I think it's near and dear to this community. And I'm just happy to be a part of this, try to run our meetings as efficiently as we can. We have a lot of work to get through, so my goal is to serve you guys and to make these as efficient forums as possible. So if I could turn it over to my vice chair.
Monique Holland.
Now we got to do this.
Okay. Monique Holland. I've been in finance and commercial real estate for over 25 years. I was interested in serving when the mayor called me because things that interest children, activities of children is very important to me. I have been very active my entire life in my kids' schools. PTA president, and for a number of years, vice president, treasurer, secretary in any capacity to help children. And I also grew up in an environment where these types of Boys and Girls Clubs and the YMCA were available activities to me, so that is also important to me.
Thank you.
Good evening, Marcellus Shepard. Owner of TV and Productions, local business on Main Street, 401 Main Street. We are an audiovisual consulting, production, videography company. I've worked with the Laurel Boys and Girls Club with the football program. I was a coach for about 7 years or so. My children also came up through the Boys and Girls Club. And I'm a resident here in Laurel as well. Love Laurel. Here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Bob DiPietro. I have a consultant company. I have been since 1986. I've built about 25 million square feet of retail and office space and residential space throughout the continental United States. I'm a former council member, former mayor here in the city. Have a lot of history with the building back in the 70s and 80s, and the mayor called and I said, okay, I'd be happy to help out.
I'm Craig Frederick, and I run Frederick Chrysler Jeep Dodge in Laurel. Been in business 50-some years. Lived in this town my whole life, since I was 6 months old. I was a Boys and Girls Club member when I was 8. I went to 7th grade at the Laurel, at the annex down there. And when the mayor asked me to participate, I obliged.
I'm Mickey Fink, and I grew up here in Laurel as well since I was very, very young. I'm a nurse at the Laurel Regional Hospital, and my children also participated in some of the activities in Laurel Boys and Girls Club, and I'm happy to be a part of this.
Hi, I'm Gloria Arnold. My husband was president of the Boys and Girls Club for a number of years. Back in the 80s, he's been involved with the club since 1959 until our youngest one no longer was old enough to be in the club. I have been a transplant Laurel now for 25 years, and my background is I have been a business owner, and I'm currently the Director of Member Services and Operations for the largest Chamber of Commerce in Montgomery County. I also sit on nonprofit boards and have a background in finance. And when Mayor Mo asked, I said this would be great.
Hello, my name is Adrian Russo. I am currently a volunteer at the Laurel Boys and Girls Club. And I grew up through the club in the 70s and early 80s before graduating and coming back to the club, volunteering as a coaches of just about all the sports. Actually, the athletic director currently, and wear a lot of hats, from maintenance, cleaning floors, and doing whatever needs to be done. I'm a longtime resident currently, and I have kids and now grandkids that are coming up through the club. So I have a lot invested in this community and the club, and plan on being here until I'm finished, and hopefully my boys will take over where I leave off. So our main objective in our family is to lead by example, so that it's a normality to volunteer and make a difference.
My name is Lionel Francis. I'm currently the owner of the Wellness for Life Fitness Center at the Garden Ice House. My kids grew up with the club, and I also spent 3 years as president of the club. So this is very dear to me, and I'm glad to help.
Thank you, Lionel. My name is Mike Sarich. As Rick indicated, I had the real honor of serving with him. When he says one-term wonder, it's because he was such a wonder for his years on the council. I'm honored to be here, work for Mr. Brown, who's the president of the club, and happy to do anything I can to help in this effort. Thank you.
Michelle Saylor, I'm the Director of Budget and Personnel Services for the City of Laurel. I've been with the city employment for 18 years, 13 of which I've been the Director of the department. We provide all the financial administration and personnel administration for the city.
I'm Christy Mills, City Administrator. I've been City Administrator for 11 years now, and prior to that I had worked for the city for a long time. I have a combined total of 43 years with the City of Laurel, and as City Administrator I'm responsible to the Mayor for the day-to-day operations of the city.
Good evening. Mike Lasky, Director of Parks and Recreation for City of Laurel. Been a city employee for 37 years. I know I don't look that old, right? But, but I'm happy to be here in an advisory role.
I'm Jennifer Carmen. I am the administrative support for the meetings. I'm the office manager for Parks and Recreation. I've been with the city for 15 years, 10 of those as a part-time auxiliary employee.
Appreciate it. First of all, I want to thank the city and cable staff for arranging this for us. Office, doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work. Really important. I want to thank Mr. Brown. Big lift is on him. Mr. Brown. Folks, unsung folks behind the screen over here that not on the next day to do cable for us. Let everybody know Channel 12 or 71, or you can stream it over the internet. I sent a note to my two grown children Dad tonight. Both wrote back, no thanks. So I just wanted to thank everybody that's done that. as we're getting started, and, I wanted to introduce one other person that's not here, Mr. Frank Anastasio. He helps run the Laurel Mirror and Glass. He's a young man, recent graduate, thinks he wants to go to law school. But I've invited Frank to be our staff, so he's off, I don't know, drinking Guinness in Ireland, of all places. But as soon as he returns, he'll miss our first 2 meetings, but he'll be instrumental towards the end as we compile our report, because I'm getting too old for that, so I need fresh young legs. So I've asked Frank to sit in, take notes, work with the city staff, and then we'll use him as a senior counsel for the staff. And it's a good chance, as Mr. Rousseau said, to try to get the young folks involved, right? We all have that obligation to find the next set of folks that are going to take our place. So Frank will be joining us at our 3rd meeting, and you'll see him. You might have seen him on some of the emails to date, so he's been trying to help out. He seems to be drunk since he left the country, so I haven't heard a word from him since he left. So we got the welcomes done. We've got the introductions done. I just want to take a moment just so we're all on the same page for goals. So we are a creature of the city by a city ordinance, and everybody, I think, has seen the ordinance, what the ordinance is asking us to do. So, in our final report, I think, we have a duty by the 1st of July to create a series of findings and recommendations, and they're annotated. I won't read them to you, but they're annotated in the ordinance of what the mayor and city council are asking us to provide them, and also back to the club board of directors. So that's our charter. Try to do that the best we can. There will be times, I'm sure, where we'll have questions, we'll have better ideas, but we are a fact-finding body, right? We don't have an evangelical mission, right? You with me? Right? Our job's not to tell anybody how to lead their lives. It's just, this is what we think. So we kind of sit in that way. And I just want to open that up for questions. If anybody is got a different thought, that's fine. I'd like to get that out on the table if there's anybody that generally, the ordinance is what we've been asked to do. Everybody okay with that? I've got general head nods around. The other thing I'd like to talk about is we're going to have some way to conduct our business. In the city council, we kind of followed Robert's Rules of Order just as a way to conduct our business. So I'd like to at least offer that we would follow Robert's Rules of Order. And with that, I'd like somebody to make a motion that says we will conduct our business under Robert's Rules of Order. And a second. Anybody in opposition to that? So we carry that by acclamation. We have to set a quorum to be able to operate. Roberts is silent on that. We can set any quorum we want. There's 11 of us. I'm sure that we will not all be able to make every meeting. So I'd like to, what do you guys think should be a quorum that we can conduct business? What's a reasonable quorum? Got 8, 7? 8's good? Okay, somebody make a motion that we'll set our quorum at 8? Okay, got a motion and a second. Anybody in opposition to that at 8? Okay, so that carries. So we'll try to use Roberts. We don't have to get silly about it. But what that means in effect is that we address the comments, we speak in order, we try to conduct business in a reasonable way. One is so that anybody watching us can kind of figure out what's going on and that we have some movement. I don't think we'll need a ton of formal votes. Towards the end we will, but if there's ever a time when we want to take a vote on something, we certainly, it's anybody's opportunity to make a motion and ask for a vote. So we'll just leave that open to the will of the group. That's reasonable to everybody. Okay. I hope everybody's had a chance to look through this agenda. What you see here is kind of a way of moving through an approach, right? And we can vary this. I throw this out as a draft. We had 6 nights that we could get this room. So kind of the thinking that Monique and I had, and once the city got us the rooms, is what can we do with 2 hours, because I don't think anybody wants to sit here for more than 2 hours. 2 hours over 6 nights to get through the breadth of material. There's one night that's not on there, and I was going to let Mr. Brown handle this later on, is I'd like everybody that hasn't had a chance, I know many of the folks that are a part of the board of directors don't need this, but any of the other folks that want a tour of the club, we'd like to schedule that, but not on a Tuesday night, right? So some other night than when we're meeting, but we can handle that. So we're talking about 6 nights. As you see, the first night is an overview of the club, and the second night is, we were asked in the ordinance to take a look at youth groups across the city, you know, kind of the fabric of what are all the youth programs across the city. So we've started to invite people to come on that Tuesday night. That's next Tuesday night. If anybody here has a group that they would want to let Mr. Lotsky know, it's anybody come. What we said is sports programs, academic programs, you know, any kind of programs. I tried to set kind of the requirement to Mr. Lotsky that it wasn't something you had to pay for. So if it's, you know, June Lee's Taekwondo, that's a different thing, right? But, you know, anything that's provided as a community thing where maybe it's a small fee, but you know what I mean, kind of like the way the club runs. So those kinds of things. So next Tuesday night is an opportunity for those groups to come and tell us about their program, and you'll see the questions there. Right? What are your programs? Who are your people? Who are you serving? What are you trying to do? And how do you pay for it? Right? To kind of fill in the gaps to what we understand as youth programs in Laurel. And it can be the greater Laurel area. So that's the second night that I'm proposing. You'll notice that every night we offer a general public hearing at the end, the last few minutes. That does 2 things for us. One is it gives us an important opportunity to take input from the community. And 2, it gives us a little bit of a time buffer. Right, so if we tend to go long or we start asking a lot of questions, we've got a little bit of slack in the program. But if we know there are community people that want to come, and if they call the chair and say, hey, I'm going to need some time, I mean, within reason, we will accommodate any community input. The session 3 is where we start getting into the details now. So 2 sessions, the 3rd and the 4th, are to dig deep into operations, finances, those kinds of things. I broke it up, and I'll leave this, you know, we can change this around. I said, let's talk about finances kind of at the top level, programs, operations, the way Mr. Brown has explained it, programs, operations, and facilities. And I saved the facilities discussion, which I know is terribly important, to session 4, because I thought we'd need time there. And you see the kind of questions that, you know, we would hope to be able to at least investigate. The 5th night is kind of the future. Right, so the mandate we have from the Mayor and City Council and the Board of Directors is, what's the future of the club? So my way of thinking about this is, that's the club's opportunity to say, here's my business plan. Here's what I'd like to do. If I could do anything, here's what I'd like to do. So to lay out the future, and however that story wants to be told. But then we, as this body, would sit and ask questions about that, poke and prod at it, and say, is that, because the language in the ordinance is pretty specific. Is it a viable future? And then the last night is really a work session for us to gather up all the findings and recommendations as we go, and to throw them into buckets. And then what we will do in between is, before we bring those back to you on that last night, would be to try to rack and stack those in some sort of a reasonable way. We'll try our best. And then bring that back, and then this group in a work session would go, hey, we need to reword that, we need to reword this, let's change the order, that's the same as that. You know, that kind of thing, where we kind of get that shaped. And then my idea, since we are under a timeline, is that we would vote at that point, that would be the findings of the club. You know, and under Robert's rules, it would be a majority. We can always add, and I would like to have an opportunity to talk about this. There are going to be minority opinions, and I think those are valid. So I think it's perfectly acceptable under my way of looking at this for us to include a minority opinion in our report that says, hey, the majority didn't vote for this, but there might be some merit here in this minority idea. So I would encourage us all to take advantage of that. We include that into the record. We vote on the package, and then we transmit that to the Board of Directors and to the Mayor and City Council. So that's the 6 nights. I'll shut up for a moment and take your questions or comments or
The only comment is on your meeting 3, your time at the end needs to be changed.
Did I cut and paste something wrong? Oh. my fault. Typo. So that's really supposed to be 8:30 to 9. Sorry. I just washed my hands and I can't do a thing with it. Anything else, anybody? Are we missing something? That's what I'm more worried about. Are there pieces of this review that don't fit into these buckets?
Yeah, I think with us opening the sessions to the public, that we may want to even have a suggestion box or something, that if they can't get their questions in that 30-minute time frame, maybe they can just put anonymous suggestions in a box for us to maybe look over and entertain.
I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to get through a process. So let me
Tom?
offer a process. So either the club can collect those, or if people want to drop them off, would it be okay to drop them off at Parks and Rec? Anytime Parks and Rec is open? Or they're certainly welcome to send an email that says something like, I have a suggestion, and I'd like this to be considered, if that works for you?
Yes.
So I just need a process?
Absolutely.
Or they can send them to any one of us, and we can offer them up?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just think that there's probably a few people in the community that could probably come up with something that we didn't even think of.
Amen. Amen. That's all good. You know, like anything else that's anonymous, that brings some, I'd put it this way, I would give more weight to anything that somebody's willing to put their name on.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
if they want to send them in anonymously, I'm fine with it. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea.
I'm sorry.
I guess the only question I had to that is then where would we fit in the discussion of those? Because if we run out of time,
So we'll bring them in the next meeting, right, at the top of the next meeting.
Okay.
So anything we've gotten from staff, from the club, or from anonymous stuff, then it'll be my job, our job, to gather those up and offer those to the entire group at the next possible meeting we could. That's okay? If everybody's suited with that?
okay.
So if there's, I'll give you all a chance to look that over. If there's anything you'd like to adjust, and then I'd like to entertain a motion just so we can always reopen this. As we get into this and we need more days, we need more time, we need to adjust this, but we got to have some kind of a roadmap right now. So that's what I'm kind of looking to do.
Rick, just one quick question. For session 3, is that where you anticipate talking about county and state support?
So you see the questions that I'd be happy to add, delete. Yeah, so the first one is, the session 3 is the finances.
Right.
And that's describe all the funding, the in-kind, the grants, the gifts, all of that. So this is current status.
Right.
I think in the future, if there is additional new monies, new programs, new funding sources, I think that might be more appropriate for the future.
Okay.
So this is kind of a retrospective look, in my opinion, in kind of current ops.
Right.
And then session 4 would be the one on, specifically on the facility, just because I think in a couple of our pre-meetings, that certainly is a major issue.
For sure.
For the club.
It's just, it's in the attachment to the resolution, so I just want to make sure that we addressed everything. And I think you did a great job in addressing all this.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we in session 5, which is the future, that anybody that wants to bring up, potential funding source. I think we have to we can't take the personal opinion. I don't think we can take the future in a vacuum, right?
Right.
It's a story. What's the future? All the pieces that the club and the board are going to need to get to where they think they want to go. So it's one thing to say we need state or county or whatever funding, but there's a package there,
Right.
There's a story to be told. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Any others? Want to move to adopt, we can do that, we can always reopen it. So I got a motion to adopt, do I have a second? Got multiple seconds. Anybody in opposition? We have got that. What I'd like to do right now is then open this up to any questions or any things that I've been doing a lot of talking. So I'd like to offer to anybody who would like the floor to make a statement or set this out before we get into the next section. Anybody want to add expectations, something not addressed? Trying to turn off the noisemaker here. If there is nothing, I guess we can proceed. Everybody okay? At the hour mark, around 8 o'clock, if it's appropriate, I recommend we take about a 5 or 8 minute recess for the older males in the group. So we'll be sure to do that. And somebody remind me if I forget. So with that, let me turn the floor over to Mr. Brown. And Mr. Brown, at this point, if you'd come to the mic, and I'd like you to introduce anybody you'd like to introduce, ex officio members or anybody else, the floor is yours. We discussed kind of, do an overview of the club. And however you would like to conduct that is up to you. And I'd like to, if it's okay with you, you let us know when it's appropriate to ask questions. So you can either tell the story and then open it to questions, or you can open it to questions as you go.
Testing.
Should be on. If you give your name and address for the record.
My name is Levitt Brown. I reside at 7114 Old Sandy Spring Road. That's located in Laurel, Maryland, 20707. I'm president of the Laurel Boys and Girls Club. I've been president since 2005. I actually came down to the club in 2004 under the direction of then Mayor Frank Casula and Mary Miller, who was in charge at that time of the Boys and Girls Club. Got there, and my first mission was to write grants. Right, 2004. When I got there, I had didn't realize what I was going to see down there as the Boys and Girls Clubs, because I was raised in Boys and Girls Clubs for over 30 years. My mother actually ran the clubs, and we've been to Boys and Girls Clubs all over the country. And my brother, he actually worked out at Atlanta Field House for Boys and Girls Club of America. He's now in the military. There's 6 of us. All of us came through the club. We're all doing well. The first club I ever went to was number 11, which is located up on Martin Luther King Avenue. I was born in Washington, D.C., in Berry Farms, which is a housing project there. So I've seen what clubs do. So when I got down to the club, I can't tell you how disappointed I was to see the conditions of the club, and also the way the programs were being ran, and it was a mess. And I would have welcomed to have a task force of this size to come down there with me, because I know we'd be a lot further than we are today. In fact, in 2005, when I got there, I had asked for a task force at that point, and the Laurel leader and Joe Murkison took lead in that, and they actually documented what I saw. The conditions were horrible, especially for me to see that, being a firefighter for over 16 years, to see a facility in that condition. I just couldn't believe it. The bathrooms were horrible. They actually had black bags over the toilets and face bowls, and kids were using the bathroom outside, or they wait till they get home. So it just was unbelievable. So what I did was I looked into the finances, all the programs, and I needed major changes. Went to the first board meeting, and at that board meeting I seen a bunch of commissioners running the program, and I knew at that point that had to change. You had to put people on the board that actually didn't have a specific sport in mind, and that's the way the club was being ran at that point. They fired the executive director at the first January meeting that I went to, and you know, I fought it vividly because I know as a club of that magnitude, that size, you need an executive director. But they didn't listen. They got rid of them, and what they did, they put those responsibilities on me, and I took them on. My parents raised us as kids that will take challenges, and believe me, the club has been a challenge for me, and that's why it's so exciting to see a group of people like yourselves in front of me that are actually going to be able to listen to the story and see the things that have happened down at that facility. The club's mission is to actually partnership with the community, with the greater Laurel community, and it's to provide recreational and educational programs for families and youth. So the club is different in aspect to some of the Boys and Girls Clubs I've been raised in. Because what this club has to do in order to provide its programs, say for example its after-school program, it has to partnership with another nonprofit in order to provide that. And that's what they do. They do nothing but partnerships down there so that they can provide these programs. A club that size, you're looking at probably about $1.75 million to run a club like that. When you look at our budget, you're going to see it's like from $370,000 to $400,000 depending. And the reason why it's able to work is those hardworking volunteers that they have down there and the partnerships that they have created at the club.
So could you, if you could, we discussed some of the questions. Could you kind of walk through?
Tall for this thing.
What's that?
Too tall for this.
It's all right. It'll pick you up. If you could walk through, if you can give us a sense of the club, how it's incorporated, who's on the board of directors, what programs you work, can you walk us through that?
The board is made up of people like Mike Sarich, former city council, wishful former mayor, Adrian Russo, and myself. It's made up of mainly of City of Laurel residents.
But formally in the articles of incorporation, I mean, who makes up your board?
You
So
mean
who
how
makes
many
decisions?
people?
Yeah. How many I just want you to get it on the record. Who and
The
how
board.
many
The
and
board makes the decision.
How do you? So
What we do, we have meetings, and then stuff is presented to us, and then we make a decision at that point. So the board of directors makes the decisions.
And the board is comprised of how many people?
Currently, there's 9, but we can have up to 12.
So how many people are formally a member of the board today? 3?
Right here. What do you mean formally?
Well, whatever your articles say, I'm just trying to get a sense of, as an entity, right, you have a board.
Right.
So who's on your board?
Levitt Brown, I'm the president. Mike Sarich is the vice president. Lori Russo is the treasurer. Justice Johnson, director. Darielle Dunstan, director. Conrad Samuels, director.
Okay, so
Peter O'Reilly, director.
Okay. So when the corporation makes decisions, does it require a formal vote of the board?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And how often does the board meet?
We meet quarterly, but as of late, we've been meeting monthly. And then we also have what we call an advisory board, which is made up of the nonprofits and the people that actually use our facility. They're required to be on the advisory board.
Okay. Can you walk us through the formal programs that you have underway?
We have a community service program, which is the program that brings in court-ordered folks. They actually come from everywhere, Howard County, United States, courthouse down in the district, Howard County, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel. What they do is they send us court-ordered people, whether they had a speeding ticket, It could be a police officer, it could be a firefighter, it could be a lawyer. They send us all sorts of people. And what we do is we use their talents to do things at the club. They don't have any talents, then they do janitorial work. We also have a community service program where we give kids the hours for their school requirements. And we partner with Pilati, Laurel High School, Eisenhower, I believe it's Faith Baptist. Faith Baptist. So yeah, it's a few schools.
So, other programs, sports programs?
Then we do what we call capacity for the nonprofits. Like for example, AKA, they come in and they do health fairs, food drives. We also have the Girl Scouts. They just actually was at the club this weekend with over 200 folks. The Boy Scouts.
But those aren't programs that you're running. Those are
They're programs that we partnership with.
So what does partner mean in that capacity?
Partner mean we provide them the facility.
Okay.
To use the facility, so those folks are participants of the club.
Okay. So anybody that uses your facility is a partner of the club?
Correct.
And a member?
Certain groups. Like, for example, the Girl Scouts are there. They have 5 events there. So they have to partner with the club in order to have those events there. We don't charge them anything to use our facility. Same thing with the Boy Scouts.
Okay.
Those are participants of the club. They rely on anyone that benefits from the club is a participant of the club.
But just for clarification, not if someone comes and rents the club for one use, they're not considered members. You know, so if you rent the Phelps Center for a dance, it's not as if those people are members. But people that are using it on a continuing basis are certainly part of the overall participants in the penumbra of the Boys and Girls Club.
I'm with you.
Is the participant automatically a member of the club?
The club has no members. And see, and that's been when I first got to the club, that is the first thing that I looked at. I looked at what a membership is. Like for me, when I was a member of number 11, I paid $25 to be a member of that club. So what that meant is that I could play football, I could play basketball, I could play baseball, I could play any sport. At the club, a kid pays $75 to play football. He can go somewhere else. That's all he gets, $75 to play football. So that kid is no different than someone coming to the club like the Girl Scouts are doing. These people are participants of the club. And one of my goals is that the club become a membership club. So what they do is they pay for a membership, and now that kid can play those different sports. Because what's going on now is the way the clubs are ran in Prince George's County, first of all, they're sports only, and they pay the highest fees in the country. So today I live in Laurel, but my vision is to deal with all the way that all these clubs are ran. There are no members of the Boys and Girls Club. They are participants. So what we're trying to do is become membership based. So anyone, to answer your question, anyone that benefits from the club is a participant of the club.
So if I could, just make sure that when we talk about what might be versus what is, okay? So I want to make sure we keep those clear. So today, to answer Mr. Frederick's question, what is the definition of a member of the club?
There is no member.
There are no members of the club?
No, sir. They're participants of the club.
So if you wrote a grant and you wanted to say how many youth would benefit from this, whatever activity you're writing about, what number do you put, 0?
No, what the grant asks you, because I write grants, I've been writing for years, what the grants ask you is how many people do you serve? How many do you serve? Right. And so when I write a grant, I can write down that I serve Mount St. Mary's of the Mills because they use our facility. I could say Laurel High School because they do Laurel Grad Night there, because if it's not for us, there's no grad night. If it's not for us, Mount St. Mary's of the Mills does not have a facility to teach do their PE classes. So when I write a grant, I write the participants. And that's why when you look at the club, it's different than other Boys and Girls Clubs around the country, because people keep questioning me, asking me, what is your membership? Where do your membership come from? That's why I'm glad we're here today, because now you're going to find out that the numbers that I sent you was 1,193, because I went through and took care of the duplicates. Though that's the sports program. If you look at the other programs, the other participants, that number is 5,575. So the sports part is small compared to what that club actually does, but it's doing its mission, which is to provide
Okay.
for youth and
That
family.
answer you, Mr. Frederick?
Well, I had a question about the participants. So what makes, for example, I got the list. I received the list and my name's on the list as a participant. So what makes me a participant of the club?
Your name is on the list for the last 3 or 4 year list. You're not on the current list. You're not on the 2012 list. You're on the list. I gave you 2 lists. One list because you want to know who was there before 2012. There's 12,000 something folks on that other list. Okay? So that list there tells you in the last 3 years how many participants have participated at the club in those 3 years. That's how many participants. Because again, like you just said, I'm not there anymore, right? You're not there anymore, but you participated at the club 3 years ago. So that counts, but in 2012, I used what we have now today, which is 1,193. You were a participant at the club, at least your kid was.
So if my kid is a participant in a program, then I'm automatically as a parent a participant?
Not unless you volunteer.
Okay, so.
And when Lionel was there, they did the FIP. So you couldn't really tell who volunteered and who didn't. Now we can tell who volunteered and who didn't
How?
at the club.
Yeah, thank you.
Family involvement program. That means to participate in a program, your kids participate, the parents have to be volunteer.
And you know, and another example I want to give you is with Maryland National Park and Planning. Maryland National Park and Planning didn't have a facility last year to run their summer camp. They contacted everybody, and they finally contacted the club. So those 70 kids, I believe it was, the camp was held at the club. That's what the Laurel Boys and Girls Clubs does. Boys and Girls Clubs around the country, they would have never taken on that task. That's why I say this club is different in aspect because it's following its mission. It's different than some clubs, but those kids are participants. You're telling me that we can't count those kids, right? But this is what I'm saying. This is what's being said in the community, that you can't count those kids, but we can because they're participants. And in order for those kids to participate at the club, they all had to have been Prince George County residents because that's what Maryland National Park and Planning requires. But you don't see those numbers as far as county residents on our data.
Question. I go to your fact sheet to just so I can clarify. You in your documents you presented us says membership/participant. So what you're saying is scratch out the membership. You don't have membership.
What I'm saying is because it's described in this community as memberships, as members. That's why you have what you have there is because that's what's constantly described in this community. When I get phone calls.
No, I understand, but what you're saying is you don't have members, you have participants.
We have.
You want to go to membership. So
exactly.
It's
and that's going to be in the business plan.
So this section really is about participants. Now, when Maryland National Capital Park and Planning came and did summer camp last year, did they pay you?
No.
You gave them the building free.
Absolutely.
And the kids paid no tuition in that program.
They paid Maryland National Park and Planning, but they paid an affordable rate, which was $40 for the entire summer. We we support that you can bring that type of camp to our club, because when we ran the camp, we paid, the kids paid $100 a week, the ones that could afford it. So we welcome that.
Planning using your facility did never paid rent.
No, sir.
Okay. Now, you talked about St. Mary's. Are they participants?
Yes, they are.
They're there? Do they pay you rent?
They pay $1,923 a month, and they pay the electricity for the Phelps Center, but they are participants, because if it's not for the club, they can't do PE. So they're benefiting from being at the club. They are participants of the club. You pay $75 to play football, right? To play at the club. Does that make you not a participant of the club because you paid $75? It's no difference with St. Mary's.
Mr. Wilson, if I may, in the fact sheet, it's clearly labeled as membership/participants. So I'm not sure, you know.
We're trying to figure out, I think what the question was, is which is it?
Well, it's clearly both. It's membership slash.
It's not membership.
There's no members.
Okay,
Well, it's a common. It's a different.
I appreciate the distinction.
Terminology.
I think the distinction is
So
that some
people
people would
understand.
call that as members, other people would call that participants.
Right.
But I think now we're getting to the nut of the issue, which is,
Correct.
It's
which
still
is
a
fine,
car.
right?
There are no members.
There are participants under this model.
It's a Chevy or a
Correct in
Dodge. It's still a
history.
car.
So we take membership out, they're participants.
You can't do that because it
confusing.
comes down to what people's perception are. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I get the calls all the time about what is your membership. I don't have time to sit there and try to explain to them that, wait a minute, no, it's participant. But if you look at my strategic plan, you ask, if you look
I
at the
understand.
strategic plan, you will see in the strategic plan that I wrote back in 2005 that we wanted to do membership. We want to do a membership.
Okay, we're good. So if I could you walk through the programs that you offer? And if I could get you to tell me, because this doesn't fit my mental model, but that's because I'm wrong, not you. When you describe the program, I was trying to come up with a rule of motion here. Is it something you execute with your program dollars, or are you providing space? And that's all I'd ask you, is to make sure we all understand. So as an example, you're not running a Girls and Boy Scouts program.
No.
You're providing a facility for them.
Correct.
What was the one? Community service program, just as an example, the court-ordered one. Does the court pay you to do that?
No, the court doesn't pay us, but again, that labor
You use the labor.
Exactly.
Okay, but you execute, in other words, there's some obvious supervision required of that.
We pay a person. That is our only staff person.
So in other words, under that definition, that program you're executing, you with me?
Sure, because we use operational funds.
Whereas
Right.
the Boys Girl Scouts, you're not executing that program. So as you walk through this, if you could just let us know which it is.
Okay.
What other go ahead.
Excuse me, I have one just observation, I guess, on your listing here, participants served, this paper you sent, okay, you have down here the county elections, that's 1,000, that's 20% pretty much of your grand total. When you write grants and all that, does anybody ever ask for a breakdown of your participants and the programs they participate in, or?
No, the only thing that they care about is that you're serving those participants.
Okay, and my other question, I'm sorry, is on the top here, you wrote that the club has always maintained the majority of its beneficiaries. But additionally, each group is required to have a member of their organization on the club's advisory board. But I look at your list of advisory boards, and it's not, so the Boys and Girls Club and those, what differentiates them from not having to have somebody on your advisory board versus the others?
For example, the churches. The churches are there, they pay rent there. They have to have somebody on the board.
Okay, I guess I'm just trying to clarify the guidelines between participants and how the participants are categorized.
Right, with the people that rent the facility, such as the church, St. Mary's or the Mills, those folks have to have people on the advisory board, because what happens is that what happens with that is the scheduling of the facility, because not only does St. Mary's use our Phelps Center, they use the gym, they use the classrooms, It's a variety of things.
So if they pay, they have to have somebody on the advisory board? Is that the rule of thumb?
Right, and if they miss 3 meetings, they come off of it. They come off the board, and now that hurts them because of the
Can't
events.
use the facility?
No, they can use the facility, but, for example, they now aren't at the meeting, so they don't know, like, when the gray room is being rented, the blue room, or the gym. They're not in the
Do
loop.
they have to come back every time and pretty much stake their spot?
What they have to do is if they want to use the gym, they have to contact a certain person. If they want to use the Phelps Center, they have to contact a certain person.
Thank you.
And can I add one piece to it? When we talk about the members / participants, depending on your view of what you feel you are in this community, for me, I would hope that I'm never considered a participant. I would hope that I would be considered a member of this club after 35 years of serving this facility.
But you can
So-
see my confusion.
No, I understand that, but I just know that.
He's a member.
Yeah, but
I'm a member.
well, I mean, if it's only one, then I'll start with one. But my concern is, and if you want to see, if you start telling people that they're not members of this fraternity, and even coach down there on the end, I'm sure when he was coaching and was a vital part of our programs, he didn't feel like a participant. He felt like when he put that Laurel jersey on, or that coach's shirt on, he felt like he was a member and a representative of
Mr.
that
Russo, as
club.
much as I agree with you at one level of me, at an emotional level,
No,
I'm with
no,
you.
no, no, no.
But
It's
we're
not
trying to
the
get to the
emotional-
business end of,
And
what's the definition?
I agree. I'm trying to get to it too, but I think the fact that he put member / participant was to cater to people like myself that felt like we were members. Now, on this board, if we want to call it strictly participants, that's fine.
We can call it Fred and Wilma. What
Okay.
we gotta get is, what is it, how do you all define it?
Okay.
That's all we're trying to get to,
Okay.
right? I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but.
No, no,
but
no,
We've
it's
been
not
asked to look at a
feelings.
business.
Right.
And we're trying to understand what constitutes that group of folk, whatever we want to call them, that would say, if you went and asked them,
Right.
are you a member? They
Right.
would say either yes or no.
Right, so if you went to a football practice and you asked a football parent, or you asked a football player, are you a member of the Boys and Girls Club, they're probably gonna say, they're gonna, I grew up playing soccer there and everything else, I'm a member of the Boys and Girls Club. But from the board standpoint, what we look towards, membership is sort of an aspirational kind of concept, and it means something different, I think, to the members of the board than it might necessarily mean to other people. So what we're talking about there is, I think, encapsulated and highlighted perfectly in Mr. Brown's presentation, that membership is, you pay one time, $25, $50, however low we can drive that number to be, and then you're a member, and because of that membership, you're able to participate in all the
We're
sports.
not there today.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but I think that's where the confusion comes in, because for us as a board, that's an aspirational thing that we're working towards.
So today, would we say that this piece of paper that we were provided, it's called participants served at the top, that captures under that definition of participants? Because, I'm gonna have exception with that, because 1,000 people
fair
that
enough.
come and vote, I don't think they'd consider themselves either one, right? I use the bathroom at McDonald's a lot, but I am not a member. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So, we gotta see a play. I appreciate that
Fair
that's a
enough, yeah.
community
They're
service.
not a member, but they came to that club. And when I write grants, it comes down to participant, who benefited from
Amen.
coming to that club, and
Amen.
and this is what I use.
So I
when I
think
write the grants.
I think we're in probably violent agreement. We're trying to get to a business definition, I believe, of what's membership.
Right.
Right, a business definition, which I'm with you, Mr. Rousseau. There's a whole lot wrapped up into that common word called membership. I'm with
And it's
you.
important for grantors to understand that elections are held there and roughly how many people are coming there to be
It's just
served
when it
there.
gets aggregated that I think it gets misleading.
I would take issue with that and say it's not misleading at all. I would say that if you're a funder and you want to know how many people are utilizing that facility, if it's clearly delineated what it is
Well, that's
and,
different
and
than
what
being
the service
aggregated.
provided is, well, it's individualized and then aggregated at the bottom. That's fair enough.
Saying, if you give them all of this and they read through
Right.
it, then that's
Yeah,
fine.
right,
But if
exactly.
somebody looks at.
But on the flip side, if your goal is to get to membership,
Right.
the 1,000 voters are never paying membership to go vote.
That's not the point. The point is when you're sending out information to
Because
grantors.
if you let me finish
Sure.
my statement. Mr. Brown has pointed out that this is part of the perception problem. And if we only have participants, for now, let's stick with participants. When we go to explain this as a task force, we have to explain, today they're participants, their goal is to go to membership-based. And then delineate throughout this book what is a member and what's not a member. A voter's not a member.
Sure.
You know, and I would argue with participant would be a strong pass-through. I kind of agree with the chairman. I go to McDonald's too, but I'm not a stakeholder. So I think part of the goal of the task force is, as we understand these things, we try to clear up as much misinformation and misperceptions that are out in the public. So, I mean, tonight, if I left here, then I can explain to somebody they don't have members, they have participants. They want to go to members, that's their goal. So that I'm saying the same thing you're saying. And then you don't have people out here going, how many members do you have? They don't have that yet. That's the goal they wish to achieve. They want to put a price to it, and if you pay that price, you have these eligible games. That's what they're trying to achieve. That's the only point I was making when I brought it up. So that even on the task force, if we're going to sit here and say there aren't any members, then don't use the word members. Stay with participants, and then we'll follow the logic as this thing changes.
Under this understanding of the word participant, we're cool with it.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's great, it's fine.
So just one clarification point, and I'll move off to participants, because I read this a couple of times. Participant, providing resources and services, and so if 4 members of my family are on the list as participants, but we haven't, and we've been in the gym maybe 5 times a year to sit through an hour basketball game, I'm counted as each of us are counted as a participant because either my son or daughter play basketball and me and my husband watch, so.
Again, I go back to the current list. Okay, you're not on the current list. The
Yeah, I know, there were 2
2012
lists.
list.
I'm on the
Right.
I'm on the
You're
other
on the
list.
list that was during the time that you benefited from the club.
Well, the other list was from 2009 forward.
You're saying you weren't in the club
No.
in what year were you there?
It was prior to 2009. My son, he last played through the basketball program, I think in 2007. He played for an organization that ran some of their tournaments there from 2008, 2009. But he wasn't, so I guess, I'm confused, so I guess he's a participant.
Exactly.
But my daughter, she last was in the program, in the soccer program in 2003. So
That list did not go back to 2003.
well, her name's on it, and she has never been, she was in 2009, she was in college.
I don't know how she got on that list because we didn't go with that group, ActiveNet, until what, like 2007? You didn't have ActiveNet then.
No.
So I don't know how she got on that list.
Okay.
Mr. Brown, can I just ask one question, because you did the history and all? I know back in the 80s, the Laurel Boys and Girls Club was considered the largest in Prince George's County, and they touted that they had over 5,000 members. And kids then, even if they played a sport, were considered members. Do you know when that changed, that they stopped counting them as members and changed them into participants?
It changed when I got there in 2005, 2004, because I was raised in Boys and Girls Clubs. So I know what a member of a club is.
So the club that you were associated with, the membership structure was different than the Boys and Girls Club.
Right, and
So therefore, it got changed into participants.
right, because what we're trying to do, we're trying to go to a membership club. But again, when I write grantors don't care whether you put members or participants. But I put participants because it shows the true benefits that we're providing to the community.
If I could call, if it's okay with everybody, we take a short recess, and then when we come back after the recess, if we could walk through the programs as best you can. If that's all right with everybody, take a short 5-minute, 6-minute recess.
Did we take too much time?
No, not at all.
My daughter,
Why?
Are we ready, Mr. Sarich? If we can come back to order, thank you all. In the interest of everybody's time and my aging bones after sitting in meetings for all day, that's what I get to do for a living. So it's work somebody's got to do. So I think that the floor is open to you. If you could walk through the programs that you've got, or however you'd like to do it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I did send a sheet out to everybody about the service provided. Some of the programs that we are hands-on with, one of them is the Metro Youth Basketball League. That's in the spring. We run that in the spring, and the reason why we did that, there was no basketball program during the spring. When I moved here in '97, I started my own youth group because of that. So we do run that in the spring, and teams come from everywhere throughout the DMV. And then we also run a Metro Youth Summer Basketball League. Same thing. We have boxing, and we also have martial arts.
Now, those are run by the club.
No,
Do you
they're
pay
not
your
ran by the club, but what happens is a kid would pay us, and then they would be in that program. Like, for example, Cherry Lane Boxing, that organization is at the club, but the kids register with us, and then they would go to Cherry Lane or either Crawford's Fitness.
Okay. In the Laurel, if you're just walking down this,
Yeah, I'm
so
just
we
going
can
down the list. The chess club, we don't run that. Okay, and we
Private
don't
facility.
right, and we don't charge that group, but our kids are in that, and they're in that free of charge. We've helped the Senior Friendship Club out several occasions, whether it be a reunion or they didn't have that facility for a while before they went to the new one. The Alpha Kappa, they do the food drives and the health fairs for us. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts just provide the facility. Lady Ballers Fall Basketball Program, because we have a problem in getting girls in the club. We invited this group to come in, and they run a girls program and additionally boys during the fall.
So if you could, just so that we could keep it straight in our minds, is this one where you're just providing a facility, or is it more like the Cherry Lane boxing?
We provide the facility.
So it's just the facility?
Right, and then our teams don't have to, our kids don't have to pay to be in that league.
Okay. Because you're providing a facility, the quid pro
Correct.
quo is that, okay.
Lewisdale Boys and Girls Club.
Wait a minute, you skipped College Park.
Oh, College Park and Lewisdale, they bring kids to our league, to our winter league.
Okay.
We do run that. Prince George's County elections, that's an estimate. So, I don't know if it's 1,000, but that's just a guess that amount of people voted that poll. NAACP, they have meetings there. We don't charge them for the facility. Transitional Zone is a program that we partnership with to provide after-school programs where they pick the kids up from school. They bring them to the club. They tutor them. They do homework help for them, and then we do the recreational thing for them. There's currently 38 kids in that program, and there's 40 kids on the waiting list because we can't afford to provide transportation and those things for them. And we are the only Boys and Girls Club in the county that does that.
So just real quick, just so we all get it straight in our head, what's the nature of the relationship between the club and the transitional zone?
Transitional Zone provides the volunteer staffing. Mr. Egan's, he was just awarded for what he does as a senior educator, him, his wife. And then Pilates sends kids over, and so does Laurel High School to read.
Like tutors and stuff?
To read and stuff like that. University of Maryland. It's a big old partnership.
So in this case, it's a facility type of arrangement? You provide the facility, or is it more of substantial?
No, the kids actually pay to be in that program if they can afford it.
And they pay you, or
They pay the club.
Okay,
Right,
so that's a club program.
Right, and if they can't afford it, like there's 17 kids that currently aren't paying. Out of 38.
And you provide the transportation too? You pay for the transportation?
Correct.
You pick them up at their schools?
We pick them up at Laurel. Well, we will pick them up at Laurel Elementary, Scotchtown, Bond Mill. Is it Bond Mill? Bond Mill, Deerfield Run. We pick the kids up from Laurel High School, Eisenhower, and Oakland's. It's Scotchtown. Then we provide volunteer opportunities for a number of folks. I mean, there's 50 football coaches. We provide volunteer for basketball, for just assortment of things, administrations. Prince Today Academy, they're going to be in the club till May. We had some difficulties with that group. They're a private school. Basically, we allowed them to use our facility, our annex, in partnership with they would allow our kids from the city to go to their school at reduced or no cost. And it's a private school, but they struggled because a lot of the kids weren't paying them. So that organization is struggling at this point, and we don't believe they're going to survive. Pilates, whenever they call, gym space for them. They use the annex as a classroom for over 10 years. So
And they're paying rent for those?
they're gone. They don't pay rent when they use our facility. They pay them to use the annex.
They don't currently pay to?
No, they don't
come
pay.
over?
No, they don't pay anything to use our facility now. St. Mary's of the Mills, you see that. That's a group that does pay rent and utilities. But again, they benefit from the facility. They also have a church group that comes in there, and we don't charge them for that. It's an Hispanic group where they use the gray room. I think it's like, 40 people that come in there on Saturdays and Sundays. Chesapeake Charter School. Chesapeake Charter School has been using our gym since their inception. I see now they're going to get their own gym. So hopefully they allow us to do the same. Laurel High School, as you know, grad night. The only way they're able to do grad night is to use the club. I put a number of 173 on there, but I'm hoping that more kids than that graduate from the school. So that's a guesstimate. Faith Baptist Church Academy, that's the one over there by the firehouse. They use our facility. They use our gym space. And again, we don't charge them to use the facility. Helping Youth Grow, that's a mentoring program. They take kids everywhere. We provide the gray room for them at no charge. The Laurel Fire Program, 60 kids are in that program. Those are kids that can't make the basketball teams, whether it be AAU or their school teams. They play at the club and they get to face those those teams that they weren't able to make.
So that's a sports program. That's not, Laurel Fire Program is a Laurel Fire Program basketball program.
But this program is not listed under the membership, under what you want to call the membership or the sports.
That's okay. I just want to make sure
Right.
it's a basketball program.
Correct.
Okay.
And in that group, we have 2 12 and unders, 14 and under, 2 14s, and a 16 and under, and then a high school bracket. The Laurel High School reunion, they held that at the club. WSSC meeting, they was looking for places, couldn't find anyone that would allow them to meet in their facility, so they had a community meeting
They got
at the
that
club.
Taj Mahal over there, and they don't have a place for a
They
meeting?
had it at the club.
That's a crime.
Well, I think the issue was they had a start and stop time. So they didn't meet the criteria of, they wanted to end the meeting at 8 o'clock and shut the building down, where I extended the time for them to use our facility.
So this is a social event that had WSSC folks involved?
Well, it wasn't social, I think it was concerns, the community concerns.
Oh, okay, okay.
Where they got to speak on matters of
Nope, got it,
concern.
got it.
The East Coast Prep School Athletic Conference, they have their tournament at the club every year. The club has established a prep team. Basically, that's kids that couldn't graduate on time, or what they call fifth-year seniors. And then also kids that have graduated. What this does, this gives those kids an opportunity to be evaluated by colleges. And through that program, over 40 kids are now going to college out of that program. Youth basketball groups, there's plenty of those that contact us on a daily basis to use the facility for practice. And if it's available, we'll allow them to use it. And again, that's at no charge. And you can see where I mentioned St. Mary's of the Mills Church on Saturday evenings. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 churches that are actually at the club, and they're that membership is just, for those churches, is just huge. And
Again, no
constant
charge.
use. No, they pay rent. New Life Church pays $800 a month. Crossway Church pays $600 a month. Spread the Word pays $400. And then AME Church just works with the club to do food drives and things like that. And then the Toastmasters are there at no charge, but our kids aren't charged to go through Toastmasters. And then the most memorable event for us is the 1,100 turkeys, where we partnership with the with the NBA to give out almost 1,100 turkeys in this community. And then I believe I sent you a breakdown of the total youth served in our sports program, which is 1,193. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you out a breakdown of where those kids come from.
Yeah, I don't have that. Do I have that?
Yeah, I sent the participant thing out. Yeah.
Was it a spreadsheet?
Yeah, but-
Okay,
Right. But
okay, so if you can
Yeah.
annotate that and
yeah,
send
what
it
I
back
what I
to us.
did, I broke it out. I broke it out for you, so I'll be sending it to you. Got rid of the duplicates, and what I did was there was 1,193. I didn't do the one with 12,000. I just don't have that much patience to sit there and try to get rid of duplicates for 12,000 people. But I did do the current year, and what I did was I broke it down, and the reason why I did that was because what that will show you is I use that as a base as to where the total participants for the club come from. And that breakdown will show you that 80% of the participants for the Laurel Boys and Girls Club come from Prince George's County. 15% come from Howard County. 0.03% come from Montgomery, and 0.02 comes from Anne Arundel. And then when you want to break it down further for the city of Laurel, it's 42% of those participants come from the city of Laurel.
From the PG County?
20707.
Yeah, which is all PG County. Or, excuse me, Prince George County. I want Bridget to yell at me.
And that's a breakdown of the participants at the club.
Okay, so if you would, if you take a note and get us that spreadsheet and make sure that we can include it in the public record.
Correct.
That's the reason I didn't send it to the staff, because I wasn't sure. But at least the collection, I don't want to put anybody's phone number or addresses in.
No, I wouldn't do that. And then I know how Monique had asked for the kids that I waive. I just didn't feel comfortable in putting that business
as long
out
as
in the
we have an
street.
aggregate,
Right.
that would probably be a useful thing to put in the record.
Okay.
Again, my goal here is to build a record that then we have. Could I ask you one more favor?
Sure.
And again, I know you're a volunteer and don't have staff. If you could go through this participants served in some way, and I don't trust my notes as you were talking, if you could come up with another column that would annotate in some way or put it in a note or something, and maybe it's a few some way of letting a reader know that, kind of just like you just did for us, either it's a facility deal or it's the kind of partnership deal. You got multiple different arrangements, all fine.
Right.
But I just want to make sure for the public record that anybody else reading this that doesn't have the benefit of your voiceover will understand. So you can do it with little notes and you put the explanation, however it works best. But if you could capture that, I think I've got some notes, but I'm sure I've gotten it wrong.
And I just want to make it clear for the record that the club's mission is to work in partnership with the community. And that's why whenever any of these groups contact us, we help them, because that's what the mission tells us to do. And since I've been there, I've made sure that this club abides by that mission. And that's what we've done.
That's perfectly fine. So the sports programs will have brought out. Could you just, I know I'm putting you on the spot, could you just walk through the kind of the big chunks of the sports program as you can recall it? And I know we won't hold you to it. You might.
You mean
so we have a basketball program. You have a
yes.
football.
We have winter basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's called intramural basketball. Those numbers are the ones that are counted in the 1,193. We also have wrestling. We also have.
Now these are programs you
at the club. Yeah,
runs.
right. We also have spring football and football.
What's the
spring football is when they actually teach the kids the stances and how to tackle and stuff like that. And then tackle rolls over after spring.
So then fall, like kind of regular old fall football.
Is it called fall? Is it
It's in the fall.
Right. Yeah, so fall.
Fall registration.
And then we have soccer. That's done in the summer. That's done in the spring. And yeah, everything is both co-ed. And then we have spring, fall, and summer for soccer. We also have boxing, martial arts, and then we have Cheerleading. We have cheerleading, and then we just started track program. And then we have winter basketball. And the majority of those programs are ran through the county. So the county oversees those programs for us.
So can you talk a little bit about that relationship so we can keep it?
Well, what happened with Prince George's County when I first got to the club in 2005, there was an issue with the kids with our mission. And basically, because we service the greater Laurel area, we have kids that come from outside the county. So we have people using trees as addresses so that those kids could participate. And when I got there, we changed all of that, but we had to leave the county league. That's changed. The county has changed their stance. So basically what's going on now is they're accepting our children because that's our mission. And we can't turn kids away. I mean, Boys and Girls Clubs, whether it be financial or where you live, we can't turn kids away. So they.
When you say you do this in cooperation with the county, can you describe that?
Well, they do soccer. We do soccer with them. They do football. We do football with them. In other words, they provide football for all the clubs in the county.
What does it mean to provide football?
They provide the referees. They provide the fields. They keep the scores. They take care of the registration. They run the league.
Okay.
Right.
So the club's role in that?
The club's role is to register the kids at the club, and then we are to make sure that they are who they say they are. And then we walk that down to the county and turn it over to them.
So you you collect a fee?
Yes, we do.
So you collect the fee and then you give that to the county executes the program?
Correct. And our kids pay $75 to play football. For the county, it's $30 to register with them. So they don't do it for free. There is a fee.
Can I ask you a question?
Turn on your mic.
What does that, I'm sorry. For $75, what does that provide the child?
Equipment, a place to practice, games.
Helmet, pads,
everything.
pants, cleats?
Except for the stuff that touched their skin.
Huh.
So everything. But again, still, even with that, you're still the highest fee. Kids still in this county pay the highest fees of Boys and Girls Clubs in the entire country.
But
so even with that fee.
I'm trying to understand. So you said $30 if you're the county and $75 from your club. I'm not the brightest bulb in the world. Why don't I just go register at the county?
Because you got to go through the club. You have to go through the clubs. You can't just go register.
It's shared revenue, right? So there's an aspect of club operations, fields, all of the associated things, the equipment. We don't provide cleats, but
yeah, because the county wouldn't give you a jersey.
Right. So
and the county's not.
I'm just trying to understand who's doing what to who.
Right. The county fee is principally. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but the county fee is principally for the coordination, refs, field, and making sure that.
So 30 of the 75 goes to the county?
Exactly.
Oh, I thought it was either or. I apologize.
No, we have to pay that.
So you collect 75.
And then we pay that 30.
You pay the 30 to the.
Right.
And the county provides the uniforms?
No.
No.
You do?
Provide.
We do.
For $45?
Out of 45.
Correct.
Right.
We raise the money.
Yeah.
Okay.
To get it. We'll be coming to talk to you.
Jesus.
So if you could, for the programs you just described, so as an example, cheerleading, what's the nature of that business arrangement?
With cheerleading? They're not with the county. They basically cheer at the football games, the basketball games, and then they do stuff like the Main Street thing.
So when I show up and want a tutu and I want to be a cheerleader, what do I get?
You pay $75 and you get a uniform, you get a place to practice, and those type of things.
And who are the coaches, and those are club
Those are volunteers.
volunteers that?
Everybody at the club's a volunteer,
Okay,
including me.
I get you. I get you. So for each of these programs, so boxing, is boxing that way?
They get provided the facility to box at.
Somebody coaching them?
Yeah, volunteers.
Okay, all volunteers. So the only one that's, I'm just trying to make sure that I can compare apples to apples. So football is a little different, because that's run in cooperation with the county, say it that way. Are there any others that are like that besides football? How about soccer?
Soccer, yes.
So how does soccer work? You pay $75, you give 30 to the county,
The club gets 30 to the county.
the club gives 30 to the county out of the 75.
Right.
And the same thing happens. But it's the club that's responsible for providing the volunteers.
Correct.
So the 30 is going to pay for officials and field taxes and all that kind of stuff, I assume.
Right.
Running, keeping the stats, and just like in the old travel baseball days, I guess, when my kids.
And they're fully staffed at the county level. I mean, they have the people that send out the emails. They have people that set up the league, the fields. They're fully staffed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the executive director's even paid.
Okay, so basketball, wrestling, spring football, fall football, soccer, boxing, martial arts, cheerleading, and track, anything else?
That's it. We, when I first got to the club, they did have baseball, but the club couldn't afford the baseball. So what we did, we partnered with Laurel Little League.
And when you say partner,
Pete was there.
what's
Well, what
the
we did
nature?
was we sent our kids to them. And initially, we helped them with securing the fields to practice on. Because legislation gives, and Monique knows this, legislation gives the Boys and Girls Clubs the right to the fields.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get to the business relationship. What's the business relationship?
We help them get fields.
So, right. So
We
if
help
they
them
come
secure
to
fields.
baseball, that we refer them to that.
Right, that was when they first started.
You don't collect fees for them?
No,
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand.
no. Back then, it was agreed that I believe that they paid $25 to play baseball. Club can't afford that. So that's why we partnered with them.
So so the baseball program is not counted in the 1,000?
No.
Okay, so out of,
Even though it's on our website,
I understand.
you can click baseball and it'll go to them, but it's not counted.
So this group, and again, I know you will get this in more detail, but this group adds up to about 1,000, what'd you say it was, 1,000?
1,193.
So 1,193 individuals or 1,193 athletes, you know what I mean? Because some kids may play multiple sports. Which is it?
We didn't count the doubles because even though a kid, like you say, if he plays baseball, if he plays football,
So if he
he'd
play-
be doubled on that list. But we can't count him as, right?
I just
Because-
wanna know which
no,
way
I'm
it's
just, I'm
counted.
just trying to
I'm not making
explain
a
to you why
policy.
there's doubles on the list, and sometimes 4, because that kid may play 4 things, but we don't count him.
So the
as-
1,000 is individuals,
Correct.
so 1,000 addresses, if you will,
People. Yeah.
people. And they may
Members.
play as many sports as humanly possible.
But you can only count them once.
I'm
That's
with
why I
you.
had to
just
go
wanna
through the
make sure we
list.
understand. So approximately 1,100, 1,200 children. What's the age span from, just so we kind of, what's the youngest?
It's 5 to 18, but we do accept some 4-year-olds.
So 5 to 18 approximately, and there's all those rules on when you turn 18 in the various sports.
We don't have that rule.
And I'd like to point something out also.
Turn your mic on, please.
When you said 1,100 addresses, that wouldn't be correct.
I misspoke.
Okay, because there are multiple. I mean, in my household alone, there's 3.
Well, what would count as children?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but
They
it,
play 3 sports, they play 3 sports, we counted them once.
right.
What he's
right.
saying is that
I'm saying
in his
address
family, he
wise,
has 3 kids.
There's 3 kids, but
So
only
those
one
3
address.
names will be listed with the same address,
Okay,
hopefully.
Approximately 5 to 18.
for now.
What's that?
Right, yeah, we mentioned wrestling.
So wrestling, though, is a club program.
Correct.
Under the definition of a club. So the club collects the fees and runs it and provides all the stuff one needs to provide, finds the volunteers to be coaches and finds the officials. How hard is it to blow the whistle and smack your hand on the mat? But that's all right.
No, actually, we pay for officials.
And actually, that's another thing that the county takes care of.
Oh,
So,
wrestling
but-
is a county program?
Well, I mean, whatever league that they're in. Sometimes they participate in county tournaments. I'm not even sure if the county
But it's not a
has-
county. It's not a county.
You're not
program.
paying the
He's been
county.
away a while. It's not a county program.
No, it's not. But what I'm saying is, when he just said, we have to provide the officials,
No, they're in a league.
they're in the league. So they're, whatever program that they're participating in, they pay a fee as well. They may not pay Prince George's County fees, but they
But
pay
that
the
comes
league
out
fee.
of their fee for wrestling. You guys
Exactly.
pass that
For
through.
each player,
Correct. We pay for the league fee.
right.
So if they go to a tournament and there's a special fee for that tournament, then we cover that.
And they cover the officials and stuff.
Yeah.
All we have to do is provide the kid and
I'm
the
with you.
coaches.
How much is the fee for wrestling?
75.
So there's
Make sure.
1,193 individuals playing athletic events at the Boys and Girls Club,
Correct.
which goes through Prince George's County as you're collecting the dues, they're running the program. The
The,
exceptions are the one we talked about, wrestling and cheerleading.
But I think it's fair to say that they coordinate the different clubs together, you know, almost in terms of a confederation. But in terms of running them, our volunteers,
Yeah.
tireless volunteers, and who are commissioners and coaches, you know, wouldn't want to take away their credit for running the sports, because in my view, the commissioners and the parents and the volunteers.
But they're running the programs. I mean, they're the ones that are out there putting schedules together, coaching teams, coaching kids, so
Right, the
forth
county
and so on.
coordinates that, right.
the county don't, we coach the kids.
Right.
The coordination. Now, that 1,193 are all from 20707.
No, sir.
No.
961 of them are.
So that's what I wanted to clarify. So if you had a small percentage out of Montgomery County or Anne Arundel County, are they, you're saying Prince George County now accepts them if they come through your system from another county?
80% Prince George's County, 15% Howard, and the rest is, you know, noise, if you will, you know, smaller numbers.
Okay.
And you'll provide that in and whenever we get that spreadsheet.
Correct. Yeah, as soon as I get home, I'll send it to
No,
you.
no, it's good, it's good.
Bless you.
We got a week. I want to just take a moment and, first of all, thank you for that overview. And I know it's hard because what we're trying to do is, you know, get everybody's mental models going the same way, right? So we understand when you use a word like participant or member or whatever, so we all get it. I'm not making a value judgment. I just want to open it up to the task force here. Is there any other kind of broad areas that we want to go down in this more general overview that we haven't heard about yet? Any other questions, any other points of inquiry, any other things we can ask Mr. Brown?
Who in Prince George's County coordinates all that?
Calvin Massey.
And what department does he work in?
He's executive director of the Boys and Girls Club. He has a
Prince
board
George's
that,
County?
right, yeah, he has a board that oversees him.
So there is a Boys and Girls Club of Prince George's County, and they coordinate like the wrestling tournaments or the football tournaments or conferences, whatever the schedules. What's his name?
His name is Calvin Massey. And what he is, he's executive director.
He's not a county employee, correct?
No, he's
Boys and Girls Club
He's
employee.
I sit on that board. He works for us.
So he works for the Boys and Girls Club. Could you give us the corporate name of that entity?
It's called Prince George's County Boys and Girls Club Incorporated.
Has that always been that way from the very beginning?
Yes, even when Lionel was there.
1960, 66, 68, 70?
No.
Is that the way it
60?
works?
No,
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Mr. Russo. I just want to make sure your mic's on.
There's this change since I've been there, because before they didn't accept anybody from outside. Prince George's
Okay,
County.
I got you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Is there any other, Mr. Russo?
No, I was just gonna point out, I played in the 70s, and we were under their umbrella. So, and I played at Lanham before I came here to Laurel. And it was that way then, so.
You know, I got to admit, as a parent and as a coach, I never paid attention right? They told me to show up, and here's a bunch of little kids, and, you know, but I had no real understanding of the business deal. Mrs. Fink, you got any question? Mrs. Arnold? Mr. Rousseau? Mr. Sarich? Frederick?
No, but I know at one point Laurel Boys and Girls Club was the largest. Are they in fact still the largest in PG County?
Yeah, there's 33 clubs in the county. 3 have buildings. We're one of them. Tacoma Park's the other. We are the largest Boys and Girls Club actually in the state of Maryland.
Gotta ask you to define how.
It's defined by, for example, Jackie Joyner, Kansas City. She has 45,000 square feet facility.
Oh, you meant
Right,
largest in terms
right.
of-
We have over 60,000 square feet. And if you want to look at participant-wise, we are the largest because the amount of participants that come through our club. Remember, as I told you before, right, that other Boys and Girls Clubs don't do what this club does.
Right.
You know, they don't bring in AKA to do food drives and NBA to do 1,100 turkeys and allow people to use their facilities like St. Mary's of the Mills and Pilates. They don't do that. So we by numbers, we are the largest. Most clubs service from 200 to 300 kids a day. And it's those same kids because they're members of the club. That's why if we had a membership here, we probably would service from 700 to 800 kids because we have South Laurel, which is in poor condition. And then we service the poorest part of the county, which is Whiskey Bottom in Howard County. So we have a lot of disadvantaged youth in this area. Now, Boys and Girls Clubs are for everybody, but our main focus, disadvantaged youth.
Right.
So that's why the prices are what they are, because it affords those type of people that are financially in trouble to have something to do. You know, and I sent all you guys a video on what Boys and Girls Clubs do, and I hope you watched it because the percentages are astounding.
Right.
You know, and that's something that Laurel, this community has a big opportunity to make a difference in the county.
Thank you. Let me just continue. Mr. DiPietro?
Yeah,
Turn your mic on, or make sure it's on.
let me ask, and maybe this will dispel yet another rumor. There's a National Boys and Girls Club Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are state boards, and then there are local boards that all filter down from this. Are you all a member of the Boys and Girls Clubs corporate, or are you recognized as a Boys and Girls Club as the National Boys and Girls Club is defined?
13% of the Boys and Girls Clubs in the United States are independent Boys and Girls Clubs. We're an independent club.
Okay.
We're a member of Prince George's County, which is our affiliate. That's who we're a member of. So to answer your question, no, we're not a member of the National. It doesn't benefit the club to be a member of the National. And one of the big reasons is this club will not be able to do its mission. Those two brothers that formed this club years back, they put that mission there. And we would not be able to fulfill that mission. We would not be able to provide our facility to the community. And that's what we are. We're a community organization. We wouldn't be able to do that.
Is
Boys
Prince
and
George
Girls Club
County
is youth only.
Is Prince George County an independent, or do they belong to this?
No, they're independent. All the clubs
They're
in
independent as well.
all the clubs in Prince George's County are independent. There's 33 of them, even the one that ain't. All of them are independent because we're
Including the
affiliates.
county. That's what I'm asking, the one you say we're affiliated with.
Prince George's County Boys and Girls Club is the Laurel Boys and Girls Club. We're Prince George's County Boys and Girls Club.
The subset of it. It's
Some of us are because this club went and got their 501c3, but some of the clubs that are part of Prince George's County, they use that county affiliate as their 501c3. We don't have to do that because we're chartered. Right.
Now, I mean, there is a national organization called the Boys and Girls Club
Of America.
Is Prince George County a part of that organization?
No, sir.
No.
Uh-uh.
So they're independent. You're independent. These are all independent Boys and Girls Clubs.
Yes.
They're not affiliated with the National Boys and Girls Club.
Correct.
Okay.
The way that you can tell is if it says Boys and Girls Club of Annapolis, that means they're Boys and Girls Club of America. If it says Laurel Boys and Girls Club, then you're not an affiliate. And it's because these clubs were formed around the same time as Boys and Girls Club of America. In fact, this club was in place before Boys and Girls Club of America.
No, not at this time.
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Brown, thank you so much for, I know it's hard to stand up there, and do that, so I do appreciate it. I think we did leave one piece of this out, and we'd like to ask you to address it in our third meeting. We'll have another opportunity, which is kind of your organizing structure. I think it would be helpful, again, from a business look at this. So you guys are incorporated under 501(c)(3). You have these members of the boards. You meet periodically. You have bylaws. If you've provided all that, then
Yes, I have.
What we'd like to do is at the beginning of that next, before we get into the finances, maybe we just get you to go through that so we can all ask questions about, what I want to understand is the corporate entity called the Laurel Boys and Girls Club, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we get that on the record. Again, I think it'll be enlightening just to understand how you all are thinking about it, and then we can move into the finances.
Okay.
So we got in the two meeting, or not the next meeting, but the one after that, is we get into the finances, and if we could ask you, according to the agenda, that we stick with what we're looking for is a balance sheet of what you are today, right?
Yeah, snapshot of what we have.
Yeah, so where have you come from? What do you have? We can talk about the future in another time, so if we could keep it to that I think would be the easiest way for us to work through this without getting confused.
Okay, I'll provide the current records.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
You provided, I'm sorry, you provided the audits and all that documentation, correct?
That's not due until,
Okay.
Yeah.
but I'll get it to them way before
I just want to
that.
make sure we get that information and that we have an opportunity to walk our way through that, just so we all understand how it's done, because everybody comes in, trying to think of this in a particular way. So, thank you very much. At this point, if there's no other questions for Mr. Brown, I'd like to open up the public hearing at 8:47. Do we have anybody that would like to speak? If you could just give us your name and address and your affiliation for the record, and make sure your mic's on there.
Yeah, my name is Thomas Matthews. I live at 15016 Law Land Place, Laurel, Maryland, 20707. I've been a resident of Laurel for 52 years. I grew up in the African American community, the Laurel Grove. I'm hoping that, and I'm trusting and believing that when this group has finished their fact finding, their information gathering, and whatever recommendation that it makes to the mayor and the city council, that the bottom line is it's about the kids. So the Boys and Girls Club, I came through the Boys and Girls Club. I remember going to McCullough Field, Emancipation Park, O.W. Fair, Law Elementary, the Armory. So the bottom line is whatever the final decision or whatever the recommendation is, that is all about the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Anybody have any questions, Mr. Matthews? Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Dennis Harrison, 10,000 Goose Pond Court, Laurel, Maryland. I've been a resident of Laurel ever since 1982, moved here from Florida. And my kids participated in the Laurel Boys and Girls Club. And too, as Mr. Brown was saying, I'm glad to see this. And as excuse me, as I sit here tonight, it gives me a bit of hope and encouragement too, because people are actually asking questions. You're looking at a business model. Really putting things together, and that gives me encouragement that, things are going to move forward, because Mr. Brown has put a lot of sweat, blood, tears, everything into this club, and along with Mr. Russo, I know. And I say to you, just, give the Boys and Girls Club a chance, because it really does help a lot of kids in the community. I used to bring a truckload of kids from my community there for basketball, football, for everything. And I used to gather the boys up and bring them in. And I know it really helps them out, and it has helped a lot of kids that I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sir, please come on up to the mic. Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Good evening. My name is Robert Crawford. I've been part of the Boys and Girls Club for about 25
I'm sorry for interrupting. You just give us your address.
8302 Greengrass Road, Laurel, Maryland. I've been part of the Boys and Girls Club for about 25 years. Lionel was there, and when Levitt came in, I've seen the place come from almost collapsing to them holding it together with duct tape and the roof falling down, but they've still had people coming through there. They've serviced police officers, teachers, lawyers, doctors of the community. And that's without a whole lot of help from a lot of political people. It's been a lot of infighting, but the place is still serviced a lot of people. I've had young kids come in there that have been bullied. I've had who were so shy that couldn't even look at a person in the eye. But that person had the opportunity to come there and develop some confidence so that they could go out there and deal with society. So I think with a little bit of help, and I'm thinking the place is run for 20-something years without very little help. As soon as they took the casinos down and the money from the casinos stopped flowing through there, I don't know what was going on with the money from the casinos, that's when the deterioration started really happening. But it still survived and it still serviced the community. And I look at I came from Greenwood, South Carolina. I grew up in the rec centers. I came up in the YMCA. And when I came to this place, the Boys and Girls Club, I said, hi, this is the YMCA that I grew up in. And it could be just as well, just as good or better than any other place in the world with the proper support. And that's financial. It's a great facility, great space, great programs. I just hope to see it survive. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Go ahead, sir.
Miguel Lambert, 17021 Melbourne Drive, Laurel, Maryland, 20707. In comparison to the last three speakers, I'm relatively new to the neighborhood. I've been here for about 12 years now. Have two young boys, 4 and 6, and my wife and I, we spend a lot of time trying to look for, places, where to send our kids to just play sports. We've had to go as far as out to Howard County, but we, recently found the Boys and Girls Club, and just all the programs we recently just participated in basketball, had a fantastic time there, both for our kids, and we are taking a big interest in trying to support the program. I think Mr. Brown here has done an exceptional job in what he's been doing, given the facility, given the amount of funding that he currently has, and we want to do whatever we can do as caring and interested neighborhood parents to support the program. We, as I guess everyone here is a parent or maybe a parent, and you always ask yourself kind of, what do you want your kids to do after school? And if you really look around, you think about it, there aren't that many things for your kids to do to stay out of trouble, and this is just a wonderful place where the kids can go after school. I mean, I've been to a couple of board meetings, and they start telling me about the numbers, how much it costs to go. And I said, boy, it's amazing how you can do that at those kind of dollars. I mean, we have to understand that they're providing a service for a lot of people that just can't afford it. There are a lot of people here that will probably say, wow, $40 or $50, it's nothing. But there are a lot of people in our neighborhood, unfortunately, that just can't afford, bringing their kids to or giving them an after-school program. And I just want to thank Mr. Brown for everything that he does, and I mean, it's just amazing what you're doing with the amount of financial backing that you currently have. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words. Anyone else? Anything that we forgot? I'm looking over at staff there. You okay? Any issues? Okay, I want to thank everybody, especially I want to thank Mr. Brown. That's a tough thing to do, and I admire you to be able to do it. I want to thank the task force for patient question. I think it's important we understand what's going on, and then we can go from that. So if there's no other business before us, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Anybody in opposition? Thank you very much.